basically, this is what we're trying to achieve. This is a box to cast, piece of wood. Put that in there, and then we go to the resin part. I think the hardest part of this whole process is to figure out what wood goes where, which way. There's dozens, it's your imagination. But you pick a piece of wood, and I have most of those, and it takes me a while sometimes to figure out how I want to cut it and match them and all that stuff. So you can use almost anything. You could use rice if you want. You can use pine cones, different woods, girls, regular wood, it doesn't matter. So that was my show and tell. I'll do it now so we can save time later. But this is a piece, this was actually a very difficult piece to cast. It was much more complicated than throwing it in a plastic box. But I had to, anyway, it was tough. The one thing that I could have used that for the top or that for the top. And I sat there and I looked at it for a half an hour and I couldn't make up my mind, so I just flipped the coin. I like that one. I picked that one. So you guys tell me which one you like. Okay, I'll leave that here. So that's the bottom line. So you can use anything. I try and keep my boxes. I've ordered a sheet of cutting, board material from Amazon. No, eBay. 3 feet by 2 feet. 2 feet. When I bought it, it was $45. It's probably $500 now. Who knows? So I made different boxes. These boxes are made to be used over and over. And that's why I bought this. So if I want to make something smaller, I have all kinds of pieces, or I cut pieces of scrap wood, put it in, and that's how I can change the shape and size of what I have to do. I do it with tall ones, flat ones, it doesn't matter. So I always have this box. Now, while I'm at this part, you see that it says off. Always take the same side off, because after you do this the first time, all the perimeter edges are sealed. So this way, you take that one off, you take the tape off just there, take it off, screw it back on, and the only thing that sees new resin is this piece. So you want that to happen. Yeah, hopefully. So I put this together with sheetrock screws, and I recess them, because if I don't, they're going to sit up a little high, and when I put this tape all around, it's going to be up, and that's where I could get potential leaks. And don't worry if you get a leak the first time, because other than this panel, it's not going to happen again. So that's how I modify the sizes. People have asked me epoxy versus polyurethane. This is polyurethane. It's stronger. It's a little tougher. Supposedly it's better for casting, according to Alumilite, who happens to sell this one. This is, you have a part A and a part B. They sell them in kits. These are somewhere between, they were 160, now they're almost up to 200. Maybe always look for a coupon with Alumilite. Just Google coupon Alumilite and you'll find something, 10% off at least. There's two types. This is called clear slow, 12 minutes. That means you have 12 minutes from the time you make that casting to get it under pressure. Normally, the other one's 7 minutes, get to 12. You want as much time as you can get. I actually think they have a super clear one that's like 14 minutes. Yeah, I know I just saw that. Always use dry wood. Don't go out, cut a tree, throw it in a box and put this stuff in it because you end up with a box of nothing. So it doesn't like water, doesn't react well with water. Okay, one of the other things, I may be a little premature in this, but like when I have this wood tends to float. So I always kind of tape it down. I have a piece here, like that. Tape it down, make sure it stays down. If not, there's other ways. I've had bigger ones that I've put hot melt glue on and just held them there, and that works too. But depending on the configuration, they normally have a tendency to float. By the way, this is just a template for that. It's one of the first things I do. I pick my wood, I put my template on a table, and I lay the pieces out on this and mark where I want to cut them. Okay, so it's always nice to have a template. Mounting on the lathe I'll get to later. The other ingredients are dyes, and there must be, I mean, I have like 10 or 12, but now there are hundreds out there. This is pearlescent powder, there's silver powder. I mean, I haven't even tried some of these new ones. I get emails on there. They're like, there's millions of them out there now. But the ones I like, you know, I'm old school. I keep going to Alumilite. There's a good. You could try a cheaper resin, by the way, but I really do think Alumilite's the best. It's worth whatever the little extra money it is. What I find with some of the ones I bought that were off-brands to me, they don't seem to make as good and stable design. So in other words, if I go like this and put the silver powder in there and I spin it like that, with the heavier one, they stay. Otherwise, they just kind of spread out evenly, which is really, well, that's what they can look like. But with a cheaper powder that's really thin, they don't look like that. They just look like a kind of a solid color. Okay. Mounting on the lathe. I'll go to that next after I do make this. Because I find the best colors that people like and that sells are red and blue. You can do 2 drops in a solution. You can do 5 drops in a solution. You're going to get different. I probably should have brought some different blanks I had, but you're going to get different kinds of looks to them. And if you use, this is a pearlescent powder. It's just a white powder. I tend to put maybe a drop or 2 in that. You can see all the powder in it. If I go too heavy, it just gets buried in there. One demo, a guy asked me, do you like carbide tools or steel tools? And I like steel tools. I don't like the carbide tools. I probably am not using them right. I can use them, you know, scoop out the inside of a bowl to get over the crown. But I do much better with regular old, you know, high-speed steel. You do too, Karen, right? You do too? Okay. That's my notes. Now I'm on my own. All right, so the first thing we do, and this is all by pictures, you're going to see them up there. The first thing is I cut a piece of wood, which, like I said, that's the difficult part, figuring out what you're going to get by the way you cut it. The next thing I do after I've made a box, I make sure it fits in there. I use my template and get it all in there. And this is what you end up with. And this, I think, looked to me like I didn't have to tape it down or hold it down or anything. I did that a long time ago. Maybe I'd take a little hot melt glue and put it in there and just smash it up there and hold it in place, make sure I'm okay. Other things I'll do is I'll take a piece of this green tape and I'll pull it over the, over the side. Because normally I would cut this up around the top. And I just tape it down, make sure. But lately I've been having a tendency just to put a piece of wood in there. Seems to be much safer. All right, now, how do I find out how much resin I need? And the way I do that is rice. There it is. I'm getting old. I couldn't remember I was looking for rice here. Okay. This is expensive rice. Cheap works just as well. And you take a cup and a funnel, and you pour your rice in. Now, I normally go a little higher than that piece of wood. So you can't see the wood, and that's about where you want to be. You get about 10% shrinkage on this stuff. Next thing is we put the rice in a cup. I'm kind of condensing this a little bit because it's very hot. Now normally I take this and I blow it out with my compressor. I'm not going to do that tonight. There. Level it out. Take a marker. Mark it. Put your rice back. This is a pretty quick process. Once you get into bigger ones, they take a little more time. Oh yeah. You can use anything that will hold liquid. Orange juice container, old tape thing, sour cream, whatever. But anything that if a piece of steak comes in a plastic tub, you can use that. You can use anything, just clean it out well. One time I used a tin can. And to get it off was easy. I just put it up to my bandsaw and nicked the metal. Just pulled it right off. So, be creative. Anyway, we got through the rice part. The next thing I do is I try and save resin. So this was going to be a round piece. So I filled in the corners because that would be a waste of resin. So I have pieces where I cut out the corners to make it round, which were all wood pieces, and I use them. And it's just save as much as I can. That one, that's the rice. We got that. Blown right by these pictures. That's good. Sometimes I have too much, or I can do it in one cup, but it's going to splash all over the place. So I just divide it in two. And when I'm mixing, I just pour a little of that, pour a little of that, just try and get them mixed in evenly. Okay, so we have this. And that's the full amount of resin. So we have part A and part B. Those are mixed evenly. They're equal weight. So I got 3 inches, and I go more than that because of the shape of the cup. It's conical. So if I have 3, I'll probably go 1.5, 1 3/4. I'll at least go 1 3/4. Something like that. That's going to be part A. Now this stuff does compress. You put it in a vacuum tank, and it'll compress. What it does is it takes the bubbles. People think that Steve Resnick, he left already. He wrote me a detailed chemist's description of what happens with the resin. But I know what happens. It shrinks. But the bubbles do not disappear. They are microscopic. We've had many discussions about that. So you always want to, I tend to err on the side of making just a little more than I need. And I didn't bring it, but I usually have a little cube. They throw the extra in. That would be for a bottle stopper, something like that. As a matter of fact, I have a thing of these, and it's like 20 different colors. It's up to about here. See what that's like in a few years. All right. Oh, and this picture shows, the tape that's holding the piece down, the pieces that I used to shrink the size to get it to where I wanted it, and now we have the ingredients. We have A and B. We have a mixer. We have paper and a pencil. That's so we remember how many ounces of A we put in. And when I start doing 3-cup pours and stuff, it gets confusing anyway for me. I mean, I'm getting older. But, so. Okay. That will go to 0 eventually. Oh no. Yeah, that should be there. Hold on. Okay, now it's at 0. I zeroed it out. I take my A. Now I know what the other battery's for. My timer. I set this for 12. My 12 minutes. And as soon as I add B into A, I hit this. Now this should be easy, it's such a small port. But I should set it up first. I'm going a little out of order on things. Put a piece of tape on that to hold it down. Okay, that shouldn't move. Make sure I don't forget anything. By the way, this, when you mix, you want a straight edge here, so you can just scrape it off the sides, because it does tend to stick. It'll look, you'll see this cloud through it. When it's mixed properly, it looks like water. You won't see any cloudiness in it at all. So, those, I set all these things up. This is the pearl powder. I took a butter knife, I put a piece of tape on it. I don't think you can see it, but it has like lines on it. And I normally write down these formulas because every once in a while I get a good one and I always forget, like, did you get that? So do that. This is to mix the pearl powder, the silver powder, whatever. Once you get it in there, you spin it around, you do whatever you want, try and get some movement out of the silver or pearl or whatever. All right, so next, I suggest you wear gloves. Compliments of Steve Ball from the hospital. These actually are really good gloves. It's so humid out, I'm having trouble putting this one on. Okay. So, zero it out, pour in your A. I need to click that yet, but soon. And I never hesitate to go just a little bit. I don't care if I have extra. That is 11.8 ounces. And now we go to B. We zero this out again. Put it on B. There we go. 12 minutes from now, we're under pressure. Oh. 11.8. This is way more than we needed, but that's okay. Oop. Now that's interesting. I went 12.7. So I gotta go 9.9. Okay. Done with that. Mix. I see a little piece of dirt in there, but normally I blow these out with compressed air, make sure they're as clean as I can get them. So, just make sure you get it all out. Try not to spill this. So that's pretty clear. Next thing is, since we're putting a pearl powder into this, I'm going to go maybe 1.5 to 2 drops versus 3 or 4 that I would do with a metallic powder. It goes a long way. 10 minutes and count. The rest mixes in pretty easily. Then we do the powder. So when I do keep track, I go to a certain line. And this one I would probably go right around there. That stuff tends to float to the top. So just keep going at this for a while. We have plenty of time. And you can see it looks can you see that? I don't know if you can see that, but it has a really nice mixture of powder and the pearl, the dye, the resin. I like the way it came out. Yeah, here. Pour it in. A little more than I would have preferred. So I wasted a couple of ounces. Take this, and I don't know if you can, flip them over or, oops, I lost my stick. Can you see that? Okay. Take off these gloves, which is going to be difficult. I can usually get like 20 pours out of one set of these. I'm going to get one out of this one. All right. Put that in there. Oh, by the way, hopefully, make sure. When you buy these tanks, this was from a cheap place, Harbor Freight. So they're always like this. These pressure pots are made for spraying paint, not for doing what I do. So I cut a piece, I put it in there, basically to keep it as flat as I can. Okay. This is an old tank. It has a tendency to leak air. And I think that's because I screwed it up by making it too tight when I first owned it. You know what? Fortunately, we have lots of time. Now, a size like this would be keep it under pressure for 2 hours. If you start to get much bigger, keep it under pressure for 4 if it's pretty tall and, you know, pretty good size. That'd be 4 hours. I constantly check it. I tend to do them when I'm down in the basement turning and just walk over and watch it and see what it's like. We still have a lot of time. 5 minutes and 29 seconds. Watch the pressure on here. Yeah, and no, I don't have that ability. So, when you turn on the pressure, don't blast it on, because the air is going to go down to that liquid and shoot it all over the place. So add it slowly. They recommend like 50. Do you want me to put it there? Yeah, I'm almost done. Put it out here. Okay. Yep, that's a lot more pressure than I needed, so that should stay for a while. 60. They have 2 numbers on the gauge, so it's 6 or 90. Now it's stopped. It's not drawing from the compressor. If I need more, I add it. Well, I don't have a regulator on that. I've never done that. It wasn't necessary. I mean, yes, I guess I could turn one of those, or you could put one up here, you know, under the meter here. So. I've never had a lid blow off. And supposedly this stops that from happening, but that doesn't work. Look, now I got it the right place. But I don't like it there. I like it a little higher. It's going to lose. It's going to lose pressure because I know this tank. It doesn't like me, I don't like it. All right, so let me just quickly go. That's basically all there is to that. I normally, something this size, at least 2 hours. I always leave 4 hours or overnight. That's what they say. I just always leave them overnight. That's the way I've always done it. Okay, we had more than enough time. We still have 26 seconds left. Now I've come pretty close with these, and it doesn't seem to affect them that much, but I usually make it on time or within a few seconds, even on a big pour. No, junk. Although, it's a good question, because when I have a big pour, beyond 2 cups, I put it in like one of those paint quarts, half-gallon things, and you've probably seen them for paint mixing. It's a long metal piece with the fins, about 6 fins. Put it on a drill, go in, spin it. It's much faster. I just do it this way because it's small. But when I get to a big one, I definitely do that. I'm mixed in a quarter of the time I mix this. It just goes so fast. I forgot the mold release. Try not to forget this. This makes getting it out of that box so much easier. The other thing I normally do, this was my beginning tank. I have a much bigger one. It's 5 or 10 gallons. It's big, 10 gallons. I put a black plastic bag because it's going to squirt out somewhere. Then you can use the bag over and over because you could peel it. It peels right off the plastic. Like this was supposed to come right out of the box with that spray. But, so let me get this out of the way. So, let me go through my other pictures. This is about taking it out of the box, which certainly got a lot more. Is that okay? Is that in the right? Which got significantly more difficult because I forgot to spray the mold release in there. But you'll get it out. So, I always take off. Can you see it says this side off? Yeah. Always take off the same side. Retape it. That'll be your only place that possibly leaks after the first time you use it, that form. It won't leak again. Unless you do something to cause it to leak. Yep. I do with this, but I never do after the first time with this. You don't have to. I put little squares. I may change the shape, but no. With that, I use hot melt glue. If I have something big that I want 2 pieces to stick to the 2 sides, I'll do that. Then I'll tape it and just do the best I can to make them stay in place. They're not going to move much. I've never lost a casting because of that. So you take that one piece off. I take pliers. I smash it on the concrete floor in my basement. Whatever it takes, pry it out with a chisel, which looks like what I'm doing there. But you'll get it out. It may take time. Like I said, this one would have been a piece of cake if I put that on it. Once it's out, a lot of times I have templates. I'll put it on there. I'll cut the corners off. And then I'll use those corners again down the road. I save those. So that may already have had 2 corners on it already. So put it on my bandsaw, get close to round. Those are the 4 pieces I cut off. And I can tell this has been used twice because it's red and it looks like violet or blue. So you can use them over and over. that's the top. I just cut a square block, then cut the corners off, and I'm ready to go on the lathe. This is me when earlier when I was trying to bash it on the floor, because it will come out. You got to loosen it up. That's on the lathe. I probably had double stick tape on that side. I round it out. You can see it comes off like spaghetti. This stuff is hard to cut. I mean, it doesn't take much to move the tool and then out with a circle of chip out. I wear a mask all the time, always. I use my dust collector when I'm sanding. I probably should use that all the time, but I don't. And this was the shape I made from that. Okay? And I sprayed it with something to make it look nicer, just so I could get a feel for what it was going to look like a lacquer of some kind. This. Then I hollow it, and that's the Harrison hollowing tool. I don't know how many of you know about that one versus Trent Bosch. I have better luck. I've had better luck with this one. It's much less money. It uses a big round disc. It seems to work, but no matter what, with this stuff and this hardwood, it's going to be work to get it out. You know, it just takes time. And I think I mentioned last month that I would do it a month. I'm sorry, I do it an hour a day if I can do it. I'm not going to sit down and do the whole thing in one day. I sand it. And then I'm ready to finish the outside. I have a tendency to sand around 750. I also have a tendency to hollow around 750. So I don't know if there's any guidelines on that. I know if you go too fast sanding, for one thing, with this resin, you're going to clog up your paper in no time. I have an air compressor right at my lathe, constantly blowing out the sandpaper, because that stuff really clogs up fast with resin. Clogs up fast with soft wood, but faster with resin. So, that's it. Any more questions? Kevin? Done.